The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? If you think you had some rough bullies, try having the nickname you the title of today's movie as Amber and Scott discuss the plague. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
I feel a little uncomfortable right now.
Why is that?
That movie had maybe just a few too many shower scenes with 12 and 13-year-old boys. That felt weird.
Okay, well, I feel weird that you felt weird about that.
Well, I have to come up with an intro, and that's what I came up with.
You should feel more weird if you were watching 12 and 13-year-old girls.
What's the difference?
I don't know. Don't look at children.
I'm just gonna not look at.
I mean, it's in the course of a movie. It's not like you're being voyeuristic and going to a school or something. This episode is already off to a really questionable start. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, if you are still with us, this episode we are talking about the plague. In the summer of 2003, at an all-boys water polo camp, a socially anxious 12-year-old is pulled into a cruel tradition targeting an outcast with an illness they call the plague. But as the lines between game and reality blur, he fears the joke might be hiding something real. This was a film, with the exception of the water polo coach, that was all kids. And they were fantastic.
There was one janitor. We saw his back for 1 second.
Okay.
Because I kept going. I'm like, where are the adults?
Yeah. No, these kids were amazing. I loved this film. And the bully, Jake, I almost saw a young Sean Penn. He was such a good actor. Such a good actor.
Yeah, no,
charming and devious, like a lot of bullies are. They can be charming when they want to be, and then just turn around and just make someone miserable.
Yeah, he was conniving, and he was great. He played the role well.
Yeah, with a very charismatic smile. And I think back to when I was a kid, all we had is the cooties. Somehow you got the cooties, but wow, these kids have up-leveled to the plague.
Yeah, so I find it interesting because one does not get the nickname of the plague by accident. You don't just show up and like, hey, you're Curly, you're Spike, you're the plague.
Well, there was a reason for it. I mean, we hear of, so the current kid with the plague is Eli, but we hear that he got it from someone last year. And there are actual physical things that look like some form of a rash that are on your back and your side. So it seems like there is some sort of transmitted infection that manifests itself in bumps and scabs and rashes, and that it's just a medical issue. But somehow kids being kids, they've turned this into, oh my gosh, don't touch Eli, don't have contact with Eli, and if you do, you have to shower yourself off or else you're going to get the plague and you will be the new outcast.
He was never in the pool, right?
I believe he was. I think it was just you couldn't touch someone. You couldn't touch the person with the plague.
I mean, I know generally pools and stuff, they have rules against that. Like if you have a rash or something.
But Ben, the kid that is the main thing, he was in the pool. So there's a couple themes that run through this. And
there's a lot.
One is obviously bullying. The other one is just being a kid and following your weird. The other one is adults who suck, and also the influence that your peer group has over you when you're younger. But I have to ask this because I don't know, and I know this might not have been the case when you were a 12 or 13-year-old boy, but 12 and 13-year-old boys that raunchy and disgusting?
Well, yes.
I mean, were you that when you were 12 or 13? Because I was horrified.
I'm just going to say that about the only thing raunchier than 12 and 13-year-old boys is 12 and 13-year-old girls. Now, boys never hear that. The boys will say stuff in front of the girls because we're boys, we don't care. The women will make sure there's no guys in the room whatsoever.
I've never spoken like that, especially not as a child. I don't know if that's normal. It certainly wasn't normal for me, but to hear 12 and 13-year-old boys talking about girls getting wet and boners.
Well, I mean,
and-
he was trying to come up with something to make so he could fit in. And
No,
like, if I
but
talk,
that's my whole point. Is he was trying to fit in with everybody else who was doing that.
they were at
Ben.
camp. Shitty things happen at camp.
But I just, again, I don't know if that's how 12 or 13-year-old boys are in 2003 when the film was set, or if they are today, or if they were when you were a 12 or 13-year-old boy. But I was
yes.
Wow, that's really disturbing to me, because I would like to think at 12 or 13 years old, you're not actively disrespecting girls like that.
Well, I mean, he didn't actively disrespect them to their face. And I don't think at 12 or 13, you probably have the balls to do it to their face, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of 12 or 13-year-old girls you're hanging out with, but I was never like that.
It's called locker room talk. And most of it was actually in a locker room.
Yeah, but you said that girls were just as bad, if not worse, and I was never like that, and I never knew anyone like that.
You must have skipped gym.
I did not skip gym. I just didn't. I've never known anyone like that when I was a kid. So anyway, we have the kid, Eli, who is currently the one with the plague, and he does have this obnoxious rash on his back. And Jake, the resident bully who leads a pack of 7 other kids who are active bullies as well, say, well, it starts with pimples, and then you get this rash, and then you lose your physical dexterity, and then you can barely talk or make eye contact with people. Well, can't make eye contact with people is, I'm sure, you not wanting to make eye contact with someone because you're a victim of bullying. But we see Eli, who is kind of a weird kid, who is who has the plague. And this is where it goes into when you're a kid, an adult says, just be yourself.
Yeah, that is maybe the worst advice you can get.
That's the sad thing, is when you're in school, I'd say even through high school, maybe in high school a little bit, you can start to be yourself, but boy, any sooner than 11th grade, you fit in.
Yeah. Middle school, junior high, that's when most kids get a hard lesson in masking.
Yeah, it's so tragic, because you want kids to discover who they are and to explore who they are and to feel comfortable in their own skin and be themselves. But the reality is other kids don't allow that. And if you do that, then you are the weird kid. And boy, it is not an easy life being the weird kid.
I mean, listen, I get it. So I definitely, I don't want to say I was bullied, because I was never bullied. No one ever tried to take my lunch money or my lunch or got physical with me. Just randomly. I almost got into a couple of fights, but it wasn't like someone was coming up and shoving me in the lockers or anything. But I certainly, I got nicknames, and they didn't bug me that much. They did a little bit. I think what bugged me most was the people who were trying to get the satisfaction from saying it. Didn't hurt me, but I knew they felt somehow better about their lame ass selves because they were saying it. So I just went to school one day with, I probably shouldn't have done this horrible olive colored shirt where I had used puffer paint to put all my nicknames, and I had several, on the shirt. I'm like, yes, I am. And screw it, you're not going to get to me. I'm going to wear it. I will freaking wear it like a scarlet letter for the whole day and say what you want. I don't care.
Did any teacher or administrator say anything to you? Because that is in its own form like some sort of cry for help, in the fact that you are obviously a kid who's enduring that. I would pray that some teacher or administrator pulled you aside and said, what's going on? Let's talk.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's
absolutely
terrible.
not.
That's terrible.
I went to school in West Texas.
Well, I mean,
I did have one teacher say something to me, and it was one of the nicknames.
Wow.
I mean, it was a total accident, and you could tell, like, she was instantly insanely embarrassed. But
that's terrible.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean,
Wow.
I never thought ill of her for it, because it was very clear that it was a slip. But that's how prevalent some of my nicknames got, like to the point that the teachers knew them.
That's a lot. So I was bullied twice. I was bullied in 2nd grade by this girl named Paige with almost white blonde hair. And I was bullied in 9th and 10th grade by this duo named Tony and Rhonda. And there was nothing weird about me. I was just a normal kid that for whatever reason, these three girls didn't like. And when we look at the movie, we have Eli, he's just a little eccentric, but
He's out there.
But, you know, if we jump to the end of the film, Ben, the main kid, the good kid, winds up getting really mad at Eli, basically saying, stop being weird or you're just going to be alone and not have friends for the rest of your life. And that was really a powerful moment because I think in Ben's mind, he was really trying to help.
Yeah.
Stop making yourself the target of all these people pointing at you and laughing. And you're making your life so much harder because at that moment, Eli had been dancing with this cutout of like a Betty Boop face at the school dance, and everyone else is dancing with kids. And here's Eli having a great time with his paper cardboard cutout.
He's wearing a giant sign that says "Kick me."
Yeah,
from all directions.
And that's the sad part because everyone should be able to do what they want. You should just be able to do what you want and be who you are and act how you want. But in school, sadly, kids are just mean. And you can't do it.
I realized they did have a couple of situations where bullying almost got there and how I resolved them. One was in 5th grade. There was a guy who was being, I don't remember, he was being a jerk. I can't remember exactly what it was. He was definitely bigger than me, clearly bigger than me. And I think I eventually just said something to him. And the dude cold cocked me right in the face. I mean, right on the jaw. And my head swung for a second, and then it immediately went right back and just stared him in the eye. That guy never gave me a problem ever again.
Okay.
Because it's like, I just took your best shot, and I'm staring at you. I didn't even throw back. You're not bugging me.
Yeah.
And
I think I've seen that in some sort of movie before where you just kind of stand your ground.
Yeah. In 10th grade, I had a guy who was bullying me. He was kind of a constant pain. And it was Jim. I was doing something with a basketball. It had gotten away from me. He picked up the basketball. I'm like, give it back. He's like, no. I'm like, give it back. No. She wants to hold it. If you don't give it back, I'm going to come take it back. Okay. And me being the thinking I was a badass, having been a red belt in Taekwondo, I went up and I kicked the ball out of his hand. That's actually not correct. I kicked the hand out of the ball. I got him on the wrist, and the next day he showed up with a cast. And I never... So here's the thing. He couldn't tell anyone. Again, much bigger dude than me. He's not going to be like, that little shrimp over there broke my hand.
Right.
So he didn't say anything. But also, I broke his hand, so he wasn't coming back for more.
Okay, so back to the film. We have Ben, who is this meek and kind kid, and he is at this water polo camp, but he's been moved recently because his mom had an affair and they relocated. So he's had his whole life upended, and he finds himself at this camp, and he's honest. He's a good kid, and he winds up falling in with the cool kids, who unfortunately the cool kids are frequently the bullies. And that's when we start realizing that Eli is persona non grata and he has the plague. So Ben plays along, but when no one's watching, he's kind to Eli and he'll talk to Eli. And I think a lot of us can probably identify with being decent people and being kind to people when I was around. I think lots of people have had that experience once or twice in their lives when they were kids in school.
You can try to reach out to someone, but they have to move towards you a little bit. Again, people don't get these nicknames. I didn't get listen, I was a prick in
Still
high school. Okay. I was like a know-it-all type prick.
Still are.
That's true. But
yeah, all you're telling me is you haven't changed, and I should be coming up.
Oh
with
yeah, no.
nickname.
I actually at one point
blabbermouth, know-it-all.
Around 25 or so, I just issued a general apology. I'm like, you knew me from the age 21 and under. I'm sorry.
Okay. What about now?
This is the mild version. Can you imagine this
No,
amped up?
No, I don't. I don't want to do that. That's very frightening. So back to the film. So we have Eli, who just continues to be Eli. And ultimately, Ben takes his efforts to be kind to another level, where Eli takes off his shirt in the locker room, and you can see his whole back is just, it's all of this rash.
It is a horrible rash he has.
Yeah. And he's trying to reach it by himself because he doesn't have any friends. So he's, reaching his hands around trying to get this lotion on his back. And anyone who's tried to wash their back, you can only reach a tiny little part of it. And your whole back is a rash. So Ben says, here, let me put that on, the ointment on for you that he got from the doctor. And does it with his bare hands and catches whatever this thing is. And now Ben has the plague.
So what we do here is we do what would you do situations. So what we're going to do on this one is, would you apply the lotion to his back?
I would, but I'd find like a sandwich bag or a produce bag or some sort of something so I didn't have direct contact, because you can jokingly call it the plague all you want, but this kid has something that spreads.
Yeah, I mean,
you should not be touching it with your bare hands.
I mean, nicknames like that usually come for multiple reasons. If you just have a rash, but you're a normal human being, no one's going to call you the plague. And if you are just weird as hell, but you don't have anything physically out there, you're not going to get called the plague. Like, that comes from a multitude of things. So one of them was actually a physical ailment that, I mean, by that age, you should know that don't touch that. It's probably infectious.
I'm going to push back, though, because I wasn't a weird kid. And I remember my 3 girl bullies quite well. And
you were called the plague?
No, but just bullies prey on people.
I
mean, you're more susceptible if there's something different about you.
Well, no,
but there doesn't have to be.
I'm not saying that you wouldn't be bullied. If you're the weird kid, you're going to get bullied or whatever. But I'm just saying very specifically the name the plague that needs multiple catalysts.
So anyway, after Ben does this, then Jake, the head of the bullies, says, oh yeah, Ben was giving Eli a back rub with lavender oil, and now he has the plague.
Can someone tell me, sorry, just a little disjointed in the movie, I feel confident nobody saw that. Am I wrong? Was there someone in the background that we didn't see?
Who knows?
I feel that might have been a source of a cut scene or something where maybe someone came in or something. And then after they cut the scene, they didn't realize that.
I think you just have to infer what Jake saw. It's okay. Just infer it. It'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And at that point, Ben is now ostracized. And he gets this rash. And everyone now is staying away from him and washing off if they accidentally touch him. But
as they actually should.
But the thing that is extra tragic is this bullying also escalates to attacking Ben when he's asleep and getting this whole bottle of what looks like some sort of cockroach and pouring it all over his bare body and then pinning him down in the sheets so he's stuck in the sheets and can't get out with all of these roaches. So that was tragic.
So here's the thing. There's one-on-one bullying and there's group bullying. And definitely they can act differently. You can maybe not deal with having to go to a administrator, teacher, etc. if you've got one. I mean, it depends on the severity of the one for sure. But when you start getting a group, dude, you got no choice.
You can't handle that on your own.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I was like, if you tell the teacher, I'm going to fuck you up. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to say that. You're going to attempt to scare me. It's not going to work. I'm going to go and I'm going to deal with this because they actually have the authority. Most of the time, a bully's parents are appalled that their kid is a bully. There are exceptions.
Yeah, sometimes the dad is a bully too, but most of the time, you're right. Kids aren't necessarily the same as their parents. But here's one of the what would you do's that I wanted to explore. So that night after Ben gets pinned down with the roaches, he runs down the hall and he winds up leaving the campus and wandering the streets and showing up at a diner and calling his mom and saying, please come get me. Please come get me. And that hag does not come and get him. She must have called the school or something, because all of a sudden the coach for the water polo team shows up and basically gives him a pep talk of life gets better, but the more he talks and shares his own life experience, it does not get better. So I was horrified that his mother did not come and pick him up.
We don't know how far away the mother lived.
I don't care. I don't care. If I was at a way camp and I said, I need you to pick me up, my mom would have driven however many miles, whatever hour of the day to come and pick me up.
No, I actually think the mom did the right thing by contacting.
She can go die.
Because the first thing that she's concerned about is the safety of her son.
She didn't seem concerned about anything.
According to the water polo coach, she was. Like, your mom was really concerned.
Not concerned enough to come.
Well, again, if she's 2 hours away.
Well, you're making it up how far she is. We don't know how far she
exactly.
is. But it doesn't matter.
And the coach is 5
Your
minutes.
Your kid is off campus at a diner and saying, I need you to pick me up.
You are beyond missing the point here. The first thing that's important is getting the kid back to safety.
Well, that's certainly not taking him back to the school. The school is the opposite of safety.
Well, not if the coach knows.
Yeah, well, the coach knew, and yet the bully still tried to drown Ben.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
But the coach watched him closer, and the coach jumped in.
Yeah, but the school wasn't safe, and taking him back to someplace that isn't safe is not the right...
Okay, I don't know if you know this.
What would I do? I would pick up my kid.
You can't leave a 12-year-old out on the streets at night. Like you
do then?
You don't know
what would you do if I was Ben's mom? Is I would call the school and saying, I don't know why my kid is off campus and not under your supervision. I need someone to go to that diner and sit with him right now until I get there. And when I get there, we are going to talk about what's happening and why my son wants to come home and why he is by himself at a diner away from the school. That's what you do.
Dear God, you would have been a nightmare as a parent.
Okay. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I mean, I'm your parent.
I mean, here's the thing. You can only do so much. If the kids want to get out, they're going to get out.
But there's obviously something wrong.
It's not Alcatraz.
There's obviously something wrong if your kid is off campus.
Yes, there's definitely something wrong. It needs to be addressed. And should the mother have been more involved with it getting addressed? Yes, but the thing is that wasn't a storyline. As part of it, we don't know what the mom did. We only know that the mom contacted the coach to get him back.
I'm not adding scenes to the film. I'm saying, what would you do? And I'm saying, if I were Ben's mom, I would absolutely not phone it into the water polo coach, who didn't really help at all, other than giving him a ride back.
You literally, more than likely, have no choice but to do that.
It's a movie. I can write whatever I want.
Okay, and you would have been a nightmare as a parent, and not a good one.
Wow, that's really rude.
You don't leave your kid on the street at midnight.
I just said you call the school.
You said I don't phone it in. You literally just said I don't phone it in.
Okay, you completely misinterpreted what I said. Phone in your response. You know the slang called phoning it in, where you do something half-assed, phoning it in?
But you're making massive implications. You have no idea what the conversation was.
You used my words in a way that I didn't intend. So let me clarify. Phoning it in means doing it half-assed, only barely doing something. I did not mean the act of picking up the telephone and making a phone call. She should have done exactly what she did in calling the school, in the fact that the coach went to the diner, but she should have said, you stay with my kid and I will be there. It's what would you do? You can't tell me. I mean, if you want to say I'm a nightmare parent, that's kind of rude. But
he's like the only adult that we saw. So more than likely, he couldn't just leave a bunch of kids back at the school unsupervised.
He's the water polo coach. You're telling me that entire camp only has one adult?
I mean, we only saw him and the janitor.
Well, because the focus was on the kids. So anyway, we'll move on from your insult and our next one.
No, it's not an insult.
You just said I would be a nightmare of a parent.
Okay,
so I'm sorry.
right.
Is that a compliment?
It probably would be. But no, we have no idea what the conversation was. Maybe that's the exact conversation they had. Not about necessarily coming and picking him up, but she was outraged and she called and they talked, and eventually cooler heads prevailed and they decided to make that decision. We don't know because they literally did not show us. So I don't want to accuse her of phoning it in, though it did sound like she wasn't exactly Mother of the Year.
So Ben goes back to school, and Jake gets in trouble, and we move on to a scene where they're in the water playing, and nobody is throwing anything to Ben.
We need to actually don't skip the railing scene.
Okay.
The one where
I know
they're coming.
I intentionally skipped it, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, because here's the thing. Jake went to ask him questions knowing the answers. Like, he knows that he was the person who was most recently bullied. Eli had been suffering this for a while and hadn't said anything at that point, and nothing heinous had happened to make him start saying something. So he knew.
Okay, you're skipping ahead and not being clear.
He knew that
what the water polo coach did is he did ultimately talk to Jake, and Jake leaves that meeting and talks to Ben. He doesn't know, and being like, "Oh, gee, I just got in trouble," and Ben doesn't want to own that he's the one who got Jake in trouble, so he says, "Oh, well, maybe Eli said something."
But that was chicken shit.
It was. It's one thing to not take ownership of what you do, but to throw someone else under the bus to redirect is definitely unnecessary.
Yeah,
I can understand being scared and not wanting to own it, but you don't need to throw somebody else to the wolves.
I mean, I'm probably just going to look at him and say, yeah, it was me. If it happens again, it'll happen again.
But a 12-year-old kid is likely not that courageous.
Yes, in fairness, I am putting a 49-year-old's wisdom in a 12-year-old's body. And
wisdom?
that does not typically work.
I don't know if that's the word I use. So that's where things escalate. And when they're in the pool, no one's throwing the ball to Ben. And ultimately, Ben and Jake get in a scuffle. Ben scratches Jake, and ultimately Jake holds Ben under the water. And there's a whole big thing. And praise be, Jake gets sent home. And all the other kids are shooting Ben mean looks because the king bully got sent away.
Wah, wah.
So what would you do if you were either of those kids in either of those situations in the pool? I mean, I can tell you what I kept thinking I would do. If I were Ben, I would, in a very public place, I would own my plaguedness, and I would pin Jake down in the middle of the cafeteria and roll all over him. So there'd be no way that they could accidentally, wash it off or anything like that. I would take off my shirt. I would roll all over his face, every part of him, and I would make him the plague too. That's what I would do.
Well, you'd be a nightmare as a 12-year-old as well. You can't do that. You
Why?
can't. I know. But because the rash is real.
Yeah.
That's a real physical thing. Yeah. And depending on what it is, it can be serious.
Too bad, so sad.
That's not the answer.
That's my answer.
Well, I'm not condoning.
You're a bully that's literally just making my life a living hell, that you're making Eli's life miserable.
Not to mention the fact that...
And once that whole roach thing, that's a whole other level.
Oh, the roach thing, I'm immediately going to someone. Immediately. Here's the thing. Okay, he jumps all over Jake. What do you think happens next? He's got a posse of about 6 people that are going to get him off, and he's probably going to get the living shit beat out of him.
But that didn't happen. Jake got sent home.
Well, yeah, but he also didn't roll all over him.
Well, I mean, that's what I do. It's, hey, our podcast, what would you do? I'm saying I would roll all over Jake. I would infect the heck out of Jake.
I'm not saying he didn't deserve
rashy.
it. He was a little shit, but...
You want a plague? I'll give you a plague.
Yeah. Yeah, and bringing up another topic, I talked about there was definitely something off with Eli. It wasn't just his personality.
There was something that felt like there might be a little bit of Down syndrome there. I don't know, and I certainly don't want to make an improper diagnosis, but it felt like there was it was beyond just being uniquely his personality. That maybe there was something else there, and I don't want to offend anyone or be wrong, but it felt like that. Maybe
he had, quote, "I'm going to be a cutter when I grow up," written all over him.
Oh, so So Eli did admit to cutting his hands, and he held up his hand, and he had all these little marks on his hand, on his fingers and everything, and he goes, "It's calming, like a sound bath." Oh my gosh, if someone tells you they cut themselves and it's calming like a sound bath, please get that person some assistance, that was sad to see. And then ultimately, poor Eli ends up cutting off his finger, because obviously he has an obsession with scissors and cutting and whatnot, when Ben goes off on him saying, be normal, you're going to be alone and never have friends. So what would you do if you were Ben in that point? So you've chased Eli after you've torn apart his little Betty Boop head, said, stop being weird, you're always going to be alone, you're never going to have friends, and Eli loses it and cuts off his finger. And he gets rushed to the hospital. What would you do if you were Ben in that case?
I mean, you kind of have to do what he did, and it's just kind of help him get to where he needs to get to.
But after that, so after he gets him in the car and someone takes him to the hospital, how do you feel? What do you do?
Honestly, it doesn't affect me that much. That was somebody else's baggage, not mine. And I know I went into it trying to help, and he just went to the edge because of it. I agree with you. I think what Ben was doing was trying to help. And I think sometimes people need a real freaking dose of reality. Dude, you are freaking weird. It's okay to be weird, but maybe consider it inside your home and doing a little bit of masking in public. Because he wasn't masking crap.
See, and this is where it gets ski for me, because on one hand, it's really none of Ben's business to tell anybody else, any other kid, how to be. It came from a place of really caring about Eli and wanting him not to be the picked on kid. But and this is where I almost feel uncomfortable with saying, fit in and conform and, this is what you have to do to survive. But kids are really cruel, and that is a sad reality. That
fit in, yes. Conform, no. You just don't want to make yourself a target.
Yeah.
You can be a little weird. You can have some personality, but you just don't want to be so far out on the edge that you get picked on. Because that's the thing. You give kids a target, they'll shoot for it.
Yeah. And sometimes you can just be a perfectly normal kid, and unfortunately someone doesn't like you and you get bullied, and there's really nothing you can do about it as well.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.